Welcome to the newly branded Sports on 580 WIBW YouTube account, and welcome to our new weekly feature. It is called the Friday Five. It's a very simple concept. It's the five biggest stories of the sports week on the final day of the work week, including a note about some of the things that might be coming up on the weekend as well. We'll get into the five biggest stories from the sports world, and this week, number one, Deshaun Watson. It's not exactly an exciting or fun story to talk about here to lead things off this week, but Deshaun Watson and his situation with the Cleveland Browns and Houston Texans is certainly the biggest story in the sports world this week. We've already known about all the allegations of sexual misconduct, sexual assault, various other misdeeds by the Browns quarterback, but now this week we have had so much new news come out about Deshaun Watson. A 24th allegation, one that the Browns reportedly didn't even know about. And according to both Albert Breer and Andrew Brandt of Sports Illustrated, both speaking to the Pat McAfee show this week, that could end up screwing Deshaun Watson out of some of his guaranteed money. Now, calling it screwed out of that money really isn't fair to the whole situation. After all, it's Deshaun Watson's own misdoings, allegedly, that have led to this situation in the first place, but it could goof up some of that guaranteed money the Browns were so willing to fork over for the since disgraced quarterback. Then we also had a report from Jenny Vrentis of the New York Times, who has done a masterful job of reporting on this story, indicating that 66 different masseuses had worked with Deshaun Watson or on Deshaun Watson in a period of 17 months. That is roughly a different masseuse every single week. And the Houston Texans also involved in this more than we previously knew about. This is a bad situation for absolutely everyone involved. It makes Deshaun Watson somehow look even worse and more predatory than he did before. The Browns continue to look awful for giving a record-setting guaranteed contract to a guy who might be the league's foremost all-time sexual predator, and it makes the Texans look even worse if their head of security was giving Deshaun Watson an NDA to protect him in these situations, if he was using a hotel room that was held permanently by the Houston Texans for this to happen. Even if Watson in his deposition said, well, the Texans, as far as I know, weren't aware of what was going on in there, that still makes the Texans at least somewhat complicit in all of this. And now Houston's being added to the civil cases against Deshaun Watson. It is a bad situation for everybody involved. That includes the franchises involved. That includes the potentially disgusting, truly filthy, disgusting act of this quarterback, and also for the entire NFL. If you're the league and you have for years now been waiting for Deshaun Watson to have a winner, maybe a Super Bowl winner, or at least a playoff winner of a team around him, now he is disgraced to the umpteenth degree, and now you've got a team that's still willing to shell out all this money, and the situation's only getting worse. How do you reconcile that? How do you still pitch to fans, to your female fans, hey, come watch this guy still? I have no idea what the punishment is going to end up being for them. It sounds like we're going to hear about it next month, but if I'm the NFL, if I'm Roger Goodell, if I'm the powers that be, I make sure this guy is off the field for a long time. 66 masseuses in 17 months is not someone who just loves to get a massage. That is predatory behavior if all of this is proven to be true. And right now, it looks really bad for Deshaun Watson, for the Cleveland Browns, and now the Houston Texans. Our second biggest story of the week is one that just broke on Friday morning. It is finally official. UCF, Cincinnati, and also Houston, the three members of the American Athletic Conference who are moving over to the Big 12, will be able to do it starting in 2023 with that year's football season. BYU, we've already known for some time, will be joining the Big 12 at that point. This is great news for everybody involved in this situation for our number two headline of the week. We were expecting that this would be the case for a long time. That seemed to match up with how the timelines could fit for these schools to leave their conference, to get their exit fees paid and all of that. And that's been the biggest hangup in this situation, is some late negotiations about how much was going to be paid and when and over what time and all of that. But this is a great situation for those three schools involved: Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. They all get the big bump up in prestige. BYU gets their joining partners when they come into the league in 2023. And for the Big 12, it's a signal that, hey, we can enter this new era now, and we're going to get a couple of very strange years in the Big 12 when you've got the new blood plus the blue bloods, if you will, of Oklahoma and Texas that are still lingering around before they get out of Dodge and head out to the SEC chasing dollar signs. It's going to be very weird. I, for one, am extremely excited for the new Big 12. I'm excited for new rivalries to form, new cities to go see, new matchups we never would have seen before. I think it's great for the Big 12, even if the conference eventually does have to take a monetary hit when they negotiate a new TV contract or TV contracts, which I think we all agree is going to happen. But finally, it is here. We know the start date for the American Athletic Conference schools moving to the Big 12. That's a big deal for the conference and another step closer for this league being able to move on past the OU-UT era. Now, I am not a golf guy at all. I do not enjoy playing it. I do not enjoy watching it, but the golf world has grabbed a lot of the sports world's attention this week because of the debut event of the new LIV Tour, LIV Tour, 54 Tour, whatever it might be, playing their first event in London this weekend. They're moving on to Portland, Oregon coming up next for their second event. But the reason this league, along with just being an alternative and different and being able to be viewed online instead of on the Golf Channel or ESPN or what have you, the reason that this is so unique and such a tough situation for the golf world is because who is backing the LIV Tour? Because of the Saudi Arabian money that is backing this group and is shelling out millions and millions and unconscionable millions of dollars to the likes of Dustin Johnson or Phil Mickelson to participate in this tour. These guys know exactly what they are getting into. They've got all the evidence in the world that this money is coming from a dark, scary, and frankly just bad place, and they don't care. And to a degree, okay, fine, just be open about it. Phil Mickelson knows about Jamal Khashoggi and all the bad things that come along with this regime that is backing this new golf tour. Dustin Johnson could find out anything he wants to about that. So could Charles Schwartzel. So could Lee Westwood. But frankly, when confronted with dollar amounts like $125 million to participate, yeah, you could understand why some of these guys who are already rich would want to be even richer. It's a bad situation. It's not something that I'm ever going to support, but there are a lot of people out there, and you can just go on social media and find them pretty darn easily, who actually are excited about this. They are intrigued about this. It's an alternative to the PGA Tour. Maybe it's going to be less stodgy. There's a team element to it. Maybe that's going to actually generate some interest and generate enough to have some real competition, but there's no denying that the backing for this new organization is as dirty as it comes, and it makes it really unsettling that so many people are willing to just brush that to the side and say, well, it's different, or, hey, well, they're paying me 9 figures, so I'm just going to play anyway, even though I know that I'm getting paid in blood money. From the NFL world, story number 4 this week is all about the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams, and they just keep winning. First, it was Aaron Donald getting a contract extension all the way back on Monday. Then it was Cooper Kupp later in the week. He gets $110 million now over the next 5 years, thanks to a 3-year extension with about $80 million in new money. Meanwhile, Aaron Donald, with his new extension, is the first ever non-quarterback in NFL history to get more than $30 million per year. And to be completely frank about it, both of these guys deserve it. Aaron Donald is maybe one of the top 2 defensive players in NFL history, certainly among the very best defensive tackles all time. And for my money, and granted, I live in this era, I'm experiencing this era in its entirety, he is the best defensive tackle of all time. And Cooper Kupp is a wide receiver who just won Super Bowl MVP. He was a unanimous All-Pro in the 2021 season. And right now, I think it's a 2-man battle for the best receiver in the league title with Cooper Kupp and with Devontae Adams. Those are your 2 best players in the league, and both have gotten paid a ton of money at the wide receiver position. Best 2 in the league at wide receiver anyway. This is what the Rams do, though. They take care of the great players, the truly great ones. Good guys, they can walk, they can be traded. We'll keep them if they're cheap, whatever it might be. But I think you at this point really have to give credit to Les Snead, to the front office, and just to the overall culture of the Rams that everyone can view from the outside. Oh, the salary cap is fake. Oh, F them picks, all of that. But it works. They've got so many good contracts on that roster as well. Look at a guy like Troy Hill, who's a very solid number 2 cornerback. He's on the books for $2.5 million. He is better than a $2.5 million cap hit player, but it's a well negotiated contract for the team. And they are willing to say, we'll pass on the lottery pick, first round picks, and instead we'll go get players that we know already are good. Kupp and Donald are guys that were homegrown, but think of Matt Stafford, think of Jalen Ramsey, Odell Beckham Jr. These are pieces that make sense. And what would you rather have? A guy who you know is good and is good right now? Or would you rather have guys who might be good now, they might be good in a couple years, or maybe they won't ever be good? It's a tough strategy, and I don't know if every team is well equipped to follow it. But to a degree, you have to take your hat off and say, if you want to say F them picks and it actually ends up working, more power to you. And right now, it feels like the Rams might have as much power as any team in the NFL. And finally, wrapping up this edition of the Friday Five, the NBA and NHL playoffs continue to roll on. We are already deep into the NBA Finals. Game 4 is coming up on Friday night. The Boston Celtics with a 2-1 lead over the Golden State Warriors. And frankly, aside from the third quarter in all of these games, Boston has looked like by far the better team for the other 9 quarters they've played to this point. Meanwhile, in the NHL playoffs, the Colorado Avalanche are already into the Stanley Cup final from the Western Conference. Meanwhile, in the East, the Tampa Bay Lightning have won 3 games in a row, including Game 5 on Thursday night. They've got 1 game to go, leading 3-2 over the New York Rangers. That is coming up in the next couple of days. Should be an exciting end to those NHL conference finals. I do think that Tampa Bay is just frankly a better team than New York. They're going for the three-peat, and I think that's the matchup that almost everybody wants at this point. You've got the wildly exciting Colorado Avalanche. You've got the pedigree of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and again, they're back-to-back Stanley Cups. I think that's the matchup everyone wants to see in hockey, and I think that's the matchup that we're going to get. I think it'll be 4 unanswered wins for Tampa Bay to get on to the championship round. And as for the NBA Finals, I originally thought that Golden State was going to win this in 6 games. I even flirted with the idea of picking the Warriors in 5, but I've got to give all the credit in the world to the Boston defense because that Celtics group is salty, it is nasty, and they have put the Warriors in hell in this series. We know about the third quarter Warriors, but they're going to have to find the first, second, and fourth quarter Warriors as well because they are struggling mightily at the moment. And Warriors may need to get a little bit more to Draymond Green. I know he's not a primary offensive threat, and really on a good night, he'd be offensive threat number 5 for that team behind Curry and Thompson and Wiggins and Poole. But you're going to need more than 2 points and 1 of 6 shooting out of Draymond Green if you're the Warriors and you're going to want to go anywhere the rest of these NBA Finals. I'll stick with my original pick. I'll go with Golden State to still win this. I will say they get it done in 7. I think it'll be tough to win 3 in a row. But man, Boston is playing lights out right now. And if they continue to get offensive production from Tatum and Brown, but also from Marcus Smart and Al Horford, they are going to be extremely hard to beat in that NBA Finals. Don't forget to go check out the brand new programming schedule of sports on 580 WIBW. Every single weekday from noon until 3 is mic'd up with Jake LeBon and Fulton Caster, followed by myself and Dan Lucero with 580 Sports Talk every weekday from 3 to 6 on your home for sports in the capital city, 580 WIBW.